Welcome back to CryptoWealthy channel, guys. In today's episode we're going to discuss about next Bitcoin price target, as we can see over here. Also, we're going to discuss how Bitcoin can get to $80,000 to $100,000 per one Bitcoin, and also we're going to check the Bitcoin stock to flow ratio. Stick to us, and now let's get started. As we can see here on the charts, we are standing on the BLX chart, which is showing us the full map of the Bitcoin price through the history. And here we can see that on every 4 years, Bitcoin is programmed to halve its circulating supply for 50%, which means that the miner's reward on every 10 minutes will not be 12.5 Bitcoins as we had from second halving on 9th July 2016. It will be in 12th of May, approximately around 12 May, 6.25 Bitcoins. This also is telling us that the Bitcoin has a high stock to flow ratio. For all of those who don't know what the stock to flow ratio is, that's basically a commodity, for example, such as Bitcoin, that the stock to flow ratio refers to the total supply of that asset divided by the amount that is produced each year. Therefore, the ratio measures how many years of production of the Bitcoin mining in this case would be required to reach the current supply if we hold constant the current production rate. Also on this chart every 4 years production will reduce, and therefore we should have a bigger demand for the Bitcoin, which will cause the Bitcoin price surge onto the upside over here, as it followed on every halvening over here. All halvenings that actually happened in the Bitcoin history, we started first with the 50 Bitcoins in 2009. After that, after 4 years, actually after 3 years, 25 Bitcoins happened onto the first halving, 28th of November 2012, and after that 12.5 Bitcoins, second halving, 9th of July 2016, and now third halving, 12 May 2020, 6.25 Bitcoins will be reward for the miners every 10 minutes, which means that the Bitcoin supply will cut in half, and probably that demand will increase for the Bitcoin, and that will cause, as I told you, Bitcoin price to surge onto the upside. Now, if we switch on the real chart over here to stock to flow ratio, this blue line is actually those 365 days, as I told you in the definition, how the Bitcoin price should actually follow this line. And as we can see over here, since the beginning, Bitcoin price was following that line good, and for now we are still on track to the halvening, which should cause the price go onto the upside when the reward become smaller than it's now. Highest stock to flow ratio has gold, and after gold commodity, if we can count Bitcoin in commodities, has actually the Bitcoin, because it's very predictable how many Bitcoins will be mined per year, or let's say per 4 years on every halvening. How many Bitcoins will miners have as a reward, and how many of those Bitcoins will enter the circulation. Now, the reason why we draw these lines over here, we are going to try to see how many days we will need to actually reach some big prices in the Bitcoin, as $80,000, $100,000, which is pretty predictable since the Bitcoin has its own adoption onto the mainstream media, and also its stock to flow ratio follows the price, or other way around. After Bitcoin broke the first high over here, we needed approximately 90 days to break this high over here when the halvening hit the road. When the Bitcoin hit 25 Bitcoins per 10 minutes, we can see that the next high was around approximately $1,125, which means we needed 170 days to break this high over here. Now, before jumping into conclusion, how many days do we need to break $80,000, we need to jump back a little bit to see why we needed 117 days over here and why just 91 days over here. Well, this is simple. As many Bitcoins getting mined over here, they're getting into the circulation, which means we need even more money to push the price onto the upside, which means we need bigger demand in order to push the price onto the next high. Following stock to flow ratio pattern, call it whatever you want to call it, we should actually break this high. Now the question is when. So by the math of the stock to flow ratio, we should break this on 340 days approximately over here, but that's not actually the case, because now the Bitcoin getting adopted from the mainstream media, new retail investors, SEC is regulating the space, also cryptocurrency space actually in general. So yeah, do the math if we're really going to need 1 full year actually to break new all-time high. I don't think so. Let me know in the comment section down below, when do you think we're going to reach $80,000 to $100,000 per 1 Bitcoin? And also tell me if it's now too early or too late to get into the Bitcoin. I don't think so. But also I don't think that we're going to go too parabolic after the halving hits the road, because we still don't have new money pouring into the space, which means mainstream media needs to start shilling Bitcoin pretty hard. And if you ask me, they already started. And now listen up.
Welcome back to Power Lunch. I'm Seema Modi. Bitcoin trading well above $10,000 today after crossing that mark earlier in the week. The cryptocurrency now up 200% in the past 12 months. Let's bring in the Trading Nation team, JC O'Hara, MCAM Partners, Mark Tepper of Strategic Wealth Partners. Mark, what do you think is behind this big move?
Well, overall, we're seeing investors just continue to diversify away from, traditional stocks and bonds towards alternatives. Bitcoin could fit into that alternative sleeve, but I still think it's a little too early. Now, the fact that it's becoming significantly less volatile, if you could imagine that, over the last 2 years is definitely helping its case. The technology behind it is great and really speaks to its potential. But the issue is, it's really not accepted as a viable currency just yet. It hasn't been embraced by enough merchants and consumers yet. And most of the people I know that own Bitcoin, and I'm in that camp myself, we're all essentially saying the same thing, which is we own an amount that if it 10x's, we'd be happy, but if it goes to zero, it's not going to change our lives. So in my opinion, not an investment just yet, still a speculative play.
Certainly a speculative, to say the least. JC, you're looking at the chart?
Yeah, you know what, when we look at cryptos as a whole, they tend to trade in 2 distinct phases. The first being dormant consolidation, which is followed by phase 2, which is a high momentum phase. And when you look at Bitcoin, we're starting to see signs that the dormant consolidation that from the second half of last year is slowly starting to change in terms of positive bullish momentum here. We broke out of the downward sloping trend channel. We're breaking above the 10,000 psychological level. And we're of the opinion that positive momentum will continue to follow positive momentum. So that's why we think in the short term we could see 12,000 on Bitcoin.
So the mainstream media starts to talk about Bitcoin. And as we can see over here, it doesn't matter what they are talking about. They're also mentioning that the Bitcoin is not the currency. And I agree with it. Bitcoin should be actually the store of value because of its speed of transactions and many other things. But that's not the topic for this moment. As we can see over here on the charts with the BLX, Bitcoin actually started the road to the $80,000 to $100,000 per 1 Bitcoin. When will it happen? We will see how the Bitcoin will react after the halving, because as we can see over here, we needed quite some time to hit the $20,000, as also over here around approximately $1,100 per 1 Bitcoin. So yeah, we will see where is this going when we hit the 12th of May 2020. Now, is it too late to buy Bitcoin? No. If you're here for the long term, just think about, we are over here as we were over here, as we were over here, as we were over here. It's never too late to buy Bitcoin, because if we hit the road of $20,000 or hit even much higher, think about that. Is it then too late? I think yes. So yeah, think about if you're investing into the Bitcoin, when is the right time. The same thing applies for the altcoins. Many altcoins that has its own use case will surge after the Bitcoin or with the Bitcoin together. So make sure you do a dollar cost averaging in order to have the best price invested when the big Bitcoin parabolic move starts hitting the road. And one more time, we have one high, we have another, we have third, fourth. Well, guess what? Where is the next one? If you stick to the end, I want to thank every single, each last one of you for watching our videos, ladies and gentlemen. As and always, until the next episode, happy trading and goodbye.